there is a game on Friday night between Illinois and Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 19.5-point favorite at BetMGM, over under 51.5. I feel like you've been getting a lot of shit for this already. I don't know if you have or not. I've just been seeing a lot of talk about this game on Twitter. It's a Friday night game in the Big Ten. Illinois fans, they do chirp for whatever reason. Wisconsin has, and I love Illinois fans. Illinois got really lucky for a great portion of last year, then kind of got a dose of reality. But they've returned a decent amount of production with Peters back at quarterback, and they have 125 starts among their 4 offensive linemen. So there's some things to like about this Illinois team. Same with Wisconsin, but it's all going to come down for Wisconsin. You know that they're obviously lost Jonathan Taylor, right? But pretty much it's Wisconsin. They're going to have a great running game. They're going to have a great offensive lineman. They do have a really good tight end. And, you could argue they lost their 5 best players from last year, including, 2 really good linebackers and Cephas, their wide receiver. But, it's Jack Cohn. It was his job, and he got hurt. Now it's Graham Mertz. What is he going to do with this offense? This offense that now without Cohn and without Taylor and Cephas, who were responsible for 52% of the offense in 2019, what will this Wisconsin team look like? And their linebackers are so important in that defense, that 3-4 defense. Can they replace both Baum and Orr in that 4 linebacker core and be just as effective as they always are? So there's a little more questions with Wisconsin than Illinois. Wisconsin's obviously the much more talented team. I think you make this over 20. Are you laying it?
Yeah, the initial projection on this is 22.5. Remember, this is game 1 for each of these teams. It was really, I'm not going to lay it with Wisconsin. I believe I have set myself up. You should always shop. There was a nice little window set up out there for about 35 minutes, and I'm not really sure. There's it's a tug of war going on between people that are on the East Coast and people that are on the West Coast, and apparently they weren't looking at each other, and that was up for about 35 minutes. So I set myself up for a nice window in this game, but if I had to play it, ultimately I would look for Wisconsin's team to get it up to 21 and then probably play Illinois, but the more Wisconsin falls, I may back them. But let's take a look at this game. Graham Mertz is going to step in for Jack Cohn. This is what Wisconsin fans have been dying for. They've been waiting for Graham Mertz to have the role. He only had like a handful of throws last year, but there's just a huge gaping hole for Wisconsin to try and replace Jonathan Taylor. 2 backups last year. They had like 100 carries for 500 yards, nothing explosive, no highlight yards, nothing, you want to look at analytically says that, oh, there was a backup for Jonathan Taylor to come in. And Wisconsin returns 81% of a unit that ranks 6th in success rate and 2nd in havoc in 2019 on the defensive side of the ball. They were 2 in the country in havoc, and that was such a huge cap for me taking them in the Big Ten championship and covering against Ohio State. But they lose Zach Bond, they lose Chris Orr. That's 59 hurries and 24 sacks. There just wasn't really anybody else. I mean, I know that they return almost everybody else for that defense for the Badgers, but what you did lose were the ones that were creating most of the chaos. So, if you look over at Illinois, they've lost plenty of run stoppers too. Not from anything, not from an exclusive defense or anything. They don't really have any havoc players in the front 7, but they did lose some run stoppers on that front line. And Brandon Peters returns behind center, behind a really solid offensive line. How important is that offensive line? Dan Kramer is their center for Illinois, and, he's projected to go in the NFL, and he didn't play in the Red Box Bowl. And Cal just tore this Illinois team apart because they had injuries on the offensive line, primarily the center, Dan Kramer. Dan Kramer's back. I think 4 or 5 starters are back, but they have a couple of reserves that have multiple snaps. It's not like, this offensive line is solid. Wisconsin finished last year 128th in seconds per play. Slow. Very slow offense. I think that trend should continue into 2020. I think the first half under is worth a play here, as the Badgers are going to try to get into rhythm. That should bode well for Illinois and try to keep this game respectable in the first 30 minutes. I don't think that you're going to be able to go deep and you're going to be able to have explosive plays on this Wisconsin defense. I think the success rate of Wisconsin's defense is still going to be there. They're going to keep you from getting first downs. They're going to keep from having drives that are explosive and 2+ first downs. I just don't think they're going to be able to take the ball away as well as they did last year. I think there's going to be some regression in that havoc number. So Illinois is going to have some success moving the ball. Can they stick it in the end zone for points? Don't know. But you know what? I'm going to take a first half under here. I think Wisconsin offensively is going to be searching for answers, and Illinois, I'm not too positive that they're going to be able to push Wisconsin's defense around early. And really, when it comes into scoring opportunities past the 40-yard line, I'm not sure I trust them there either.
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin brings back their entire secondary defensive line, so it's just that in Jim Leonard's defense, that blitzing 3-4 defense, the linebackers are really important. So how much was it of Orr and Bounds talent, or how much was it of scheme? That's one of the things you have to figure out. But yeah, maybe it's just less havoc, but they should still slow down this Illinois offense. And like you said, Wisconsin's a snail. And not only are they a snail, it's a new quarterback. A lot of people like him better, but they lose Taylor. The backups, as you said, didn't look great last year. And they did lose 3 offensive linemen, 3 starting offensive linemen, including the best center in the country last year by a lot of metrics. So, I don't hate the first half under there. You may have convinced me as well on that. I think Wisconsin, one thing to note, Wisconsin did lose their kickoff specials. It was just a touchback machine. So I don't know how that's going to impact things. But
you know what they remind me of on defense, though? They remind me of Georgia now. Like, they're extremely successful, but they're not havoc. There's no havoc whatsoever. That's where Wisconsin's defense is getting. Like, they'll get you off the field. They're not going to let you push them around. You're not going to beat them deep. You're not going to be able to have explosive plays on them. But they're not going to take the ball away from you either. So they're turning into Georgia really fast.
Yeah, and Illinois, their linebackers with Hanson are probably a strength of the team against that Wisconsin rushing attack. So I think that they can hold up. Yeah, I mean, Illinois, you talk about they started to have regression at the end of the year. There's still regression coming for this Illinois defense in the turnover department. So maybe we'll get a clean game without any defensive touchdowns, which would not be great for the under.
Are we taking in the handicap that Lovie Smith shaved his beard? I mean, I don't know. Are we? Yeah, I mean,
I'll have to factor that in.
Yeah, we got to put that in the cap next time.